Welcome back to the Freeman Focus, where we slow things down, talk about better lives, building healthier mindsets, and finding balance through community and connection. I'm Mariano, I'm your host. This season one is proudly sponsored by What the Snark, your go to for local custom branding, business apparel, decals, and personal gifts. Today I'm sitting down with someone I've come to know as both a great friend and mentor, Dan Bunch, broker and owner of Springs Group Real Estate in Neshkoro, Wisconsin. Dan is a man grounded in faith, driven by purpose, and passionate about helping others. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it means to build on a foundation of faith, focus, and community, and how living with integrity and gratitude can shape not just your business, but the mindset and the life you build around it. Dan Bunch, why don't you take it away from here? Introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you for that incredible intro, and one of the best intros I have ever had. I think you did a really good job of telling our audience what I'm talking about today, who I am, as a real estate broker, business person, operating in the former hometown bank in Neshkoro here, where all things are beautiful and we have a great time doing it.
That's awesome. I really enjoyed my time when I visit Neshkoro. It's a very beautiful town. It's an amazing community. It seems like there's a lot of great individuals and business owners as well that are helping the community continue to grow, yourself included.
Thank you so much.
So as far as my topic for to start with, I got faith in business. I know that you were a mentor of mine for quite some time there. So faith, I know that faith is a really big thing in what drives you. Why don't you touch a little bit based on, like, you go to church there locally in the area? What church do you go to?
I attend Washare Community Church in Watoma.
Okay. Excellent. That's a very awesome church. I've been there before, so you're pretty well involved with your local church. That's always important. I think before I get too deep into local community, let's back it up a little bit. Why don't we touch base on how you got into real estate and what led you to Neshkoro, Wisconsin, and let's start there, actually.
Sure. Well, my connection to Neshkoro goes all the way back to 1971 when my father bought some land across from Tuttle Lake, and I live there now. I have a house on the same property that my father purchased in 1971, and that's been a place, the area right there by Tuttle Lake, the Germania Marsh, was just always an incredibly special place for me and my family, so I'm still enjoying it to this day. The trees have grown about 40 feet taller since I first started coming, and there was no houses there when we bought it, and we just all camped there, but now there's all houses. As far as real estate, I was in a corporate job. I worked for a very large corporation in the Milwaukee area until I was about 26 years old, and I held a high position there, but I did not have a college education. And at one point, I probably just got a little bit too aggressive with what I thought my value was. They disagreed with me and they let me go. But I was already purchasing real estate, investment real estate, multifamily, single-family homes in the Milwaukee area with a broker that I knew since we were in school. So together, he said to me, you should just buy the company. Well, I just lost my job, and I own some other property up here and home. And I said, the only money I have is my K money. Well, as it turns out, I bought the real estate company. I didn't even have a real estate license, so I had to get licensed after I owned the company. And then it was School of Hard Knocks. Learned real quick the problems in real estate, owning a real estate company. So I did go into it a little bit blind. During that first year, my life changed very negatively as far as financial, and I just spent every penny I had in the bank on buying this company, and kind of brought me to my knees. I turned to God at that point, and he showed me a path forward with him that to this day has been completely transformational for my life and my family. Unfortunately, the gentleman that worked there that I bought the company for, I made him a 50% owner because I didn't know what I was doing. And I said, well, if you'll be the sales manager, I'll give you half of the company's value. But unfortunately, at the same time that I was going to my knees and becoming a Christian, changing my life in a very positive way. He was becoming an alcoholic, and it got to a point where there was no way for me to continue. My situation was dire. I had 3 kids. I had to do something. He kind of jammed me up on buying him out, or he couldn't buy me out. So we ended up, my attorney just said, walk away from it. So I was literally on the street. And when I say I was on the street, I went to every real estate company on the south side of Milwaukee and told them that I wanted to be a real estate agent for their company, but I'll make you a promise. I'll be your top producer, but I need a check today for $2,500. I think about 12, 13 of them just laughed at me and said, this isn't the way it works. But finally, the number one agent in Wisconsin at that time, Dick Surgis, he was my last stop at Better Homes and Gardens office in Greenfield. And he said, you know what, I believe you. And he turned to his secretary and he said, write this guy a check. Off I went. I became his top producer, and it wasn't until, I want to say, I spent 23 years at Remax. I was one of the top agents in the state there, and went to Realty Executives because the owner there had an appreciation for the amount of office space that I needed, and he built me out a beautiful office. And I was with him for 5 years. That 5th year, I was the number one agent in the world for Realty Executives with my team. And then I started my own company following that called Vesta Real Estate Advisors, which within 3 years grew to 50 people. And it was an incredible, incredible ride. But as fate would have it, sometimes things come up, black swans, and I had a couple of black swans come up right about the time I was thinking of selling the company through an ESOP. An employee or the leaders of the company would buy it, but turned into a terrible mess. And I tried to hang on there for quite some time. I had almost a $500,000 investment in the office, and there was a hostile takeover by a competitor of my leadership, hijacked my leadership, and that kind of spiraled over the next 2 years. Finally, I just said, you know what, I have to do something else. And in doing that, I was up here in Neshkoro selling some real estate for family, and I drove past the bank, which I was very familiar with. It was my bank. I took out my first mortgage when I built my house up here 30 years ago. And I said, well, maybe this is an option for me to start somewhere else with a completely different situation, small community, and the building I was familiar with, and I really liked it. So we pulled the trigger, and God got our offer accepted amidst a few others. And now it's been 3 years since we've been here, and things are working out, I guess, better than I had really hoped, to be honest.
What a blessing. 3 years, congratulations. Like, that seems like such a short time ago, but, I had walked into your building about almost 2 years ago, and that's when I had first met you. And you definitely made an amazing impression on me, and I knew that you were someone that was very important, not just in the sense of like, this guy, he says a lot of the right things. It's like an energy it's like an aura that you have. You're a very kind, generous person, and that type of energy it just flows. You know what I'm saying? You can't fake that. You can't imitate it. It's just original. It's authentic, and I've always loved that about you, Dan. So anytime I've ever stepped foot in your office, I usually feel that same energy. So whether it's for business or for personal reasons, it's great to see you, and it's great to visit you at the office. So I'll definitely have to stop by and see you soon as well.
I appreciate that. Quite flattering. I don't want to give all the credit to myself for being kind and considerate and having energy that really comes from God by my faith, and paying attention to what God would want of me now that He has me.
It's beautiful. As a Christian myself, I've had to surrender my life to Jesus, and I've deviated a few times and made some mistakes, went down some wrong paths, but I'm very grateful that He never forsakes us, and that He always allows us to grow and to grow closer to His love, and for us to be blessed with the opportunities that we have. We learn from them, good or bad or indifferent. If we have the right mindset, we're learning from them. And that's, it's an incredible
Yeah,
journey that you've
great.
had to get to where you're at.
Yeah, it hasn't all been easy. Keeping my eyes on God, on my faith, always keeps you moving in the right direction. It's the minute that you take your
Amen.
eyes off God and try things yourself is when the wheels come off. And even though that you can go through severe circumstances as a Christian, God has purpose in it. It's a time of learning. God's getting your attention, and He's willing to tell you what the problems are once He has your attention. So it seems like throughout my whole career, every time I took my eyes off God when things were going really great, and I'm thinking I'm the one who's doing this, God reminded me it wasn't me, it was Him.
I get that reminder. He knows what to say. He knows how to say it. And even if you're not looking for the message, it finds you, it presents itself to you through someone or something, like something specific happens. And all right, I see that you're clearly here, that you're working all of your, your glorious miracles for us. We're very grateful. There's only certain things that we can do with our own mindsets and with our own energy, but it's that natural flow of energy around us. I definitely feel that when I walk into Springs Group. But it's definitely, it's a lot more than just business that's happening there. I can tell you that. So I'm very blessed that you came to Neshkoro, that you've opened up shop, and that you're making an impact in, your area. Speaking of impacts, as far as building opportunities, I recall when too far ahead of myself yet in the podcast, but that was one of the things I was thinking about was your mastermind group, because you have a really unique way of coaching business, and mentoring people in the business sector and market. So maybe you want to touch base on that a little bit.
Sure. I've been involved in masterminds, have been one of the most critical tools or experiences to help me grow. The Kinder Reese Mastermind Group, which is the 20 of the best agents they could find in North America who were interested, making like a $10,000 deposit to be on a waiting list to be considered. That's how serious they were about it. You had to have $1 million income minimum. They collected your tax returns. They investigated the heck out of it. I finally got the call to be in that. And in those 3 years, we went from 50 million to 100 million in production in those 3 years with the mastermind. And so I knew the power of it, the accountability from it, and just the actual power of bringing 20 intelligences together to create a higher intelligence of anyone that was there. No longer was the smartest person in the room the highest intelligence. The room was the highest intelligence, and it was really enjoyable because we always met at exotic places, and we just had an absolute blast. And that group, that mastermind group, now leads up the largest portion of EXP Global. Actually, probably have close to 2/3 of the people are under their wing, under the mastermind that I was a part of. Been a big part of EXP's explosive growth to 80,000 agents here in the United States, and then they have about 2,000 employees there in a virtual brokerage.
Pretty awesome. That's pretty impressive. As far as local.
So I wanted to involve the businesses here in a mastermind. I'm trying to get their attention with my new LED sign. I keep putting their businesses up on there, and I'm following up with them. I'm really behind on that. I didn't find the enthusiasm, but I'm not giving up, because I know it will help all of us, all the people who want to be involved. I know there's a few people are just anxious to get going, but I really need a dozen businesses in the mastermind to really make it work well.
And I was gonna be my follow-up question was the LED sign as far as local businesses. I noticed that you had that new LED sign up front. How does that?
Yes.
I was gonna say, I was gonna generalize it. How does that help other local businesses? I clearly know how marketing works, advertisements.
So many of the businesses don't have a way to communicate in an animated way. It just so happens here on Highway 73, the traffic count is such. We have people literally stopping in front of the building here at this and just waiting for the loop to go through. We only have a few things on there. We just started a few days ago, and my gosh, talk of the town.
It's a bright sign. You can't miss it. It looks so nice.
Somebody said, somebody said to me the biggest thing that happened since the railroad came to Neshkoro.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
funny.
I'm getting a lot of calls. I'm getting a lot of calls from businesses that want to be on there, and that really is helping to the all the local businesses here. I've just been contributing every way possible, and this is just another way for me to give them more visibility.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, as far as local involvement with your community, there's a couple organizations or groups that I'm aware that you're involved with. You want to touch base on any of that?
Right.
How that plays a
Yeah.
role in your business?
Yeah. For, for the last 40 years, I've been committed to whatever community I'm in, whether it's a church community, whether it's the municipality. And what I like about here is that I'm not sitting amidst 1.5 million people and 27 suburbs. I've got a town. And as far as local community commitment, we evaluated what organizations were in existence, and we just went to them and said we want to help. And so we joined the Lions Club. Matthew, my partner, and now we have Bradley Severson here. All three of us are in the Lions Club. Matthew and I are the two vice presidents, so we had a lineup of leadership in the Lions Club, and then we belong to the Neshkoro Enhancement Committee, which just did all the decorating in town here. We went to Scarecrow Fest this year. We set up a booth there, and we gave away $300 in wine on Spin the Wheel, and kids were shooting crossbows at targets, and we had a whole bucket full of toys we gave away. It was so much fun. People couldn't believe it. It's like I win a bottle of wine, and then the parents would have the kids spin the wheel for me. I'll take the wine. It was funny.
Somehow, the younger generation, they just get really lucky when it comes to winning.
Yeah, yeah. Lunch Creek Winery. We bought all the wine from Lunch Creek Winery because we support them locally. We're trying to find a way to support every business we can here in some way. And so when we first opened up here, we went to all the people in town that own businesses. We went to the government, people who own services, and we said, hey, we're going to have a meeting up at our office about the town. And essentially the whole meeting was about adapting. It's very difficult for sub 500 population towns, especially 50 miles from a large population center of 100,000 or so. All these towns have been struggling. There's actually 600 sub 500 corporations in Wisconsin, and most of them are hurting bad, except for the ones that are really close to large population centers. And what's happened is there's been just an eroding of Main Street businesses as we went from horses and buggies to cars, and then everything started to change. There was no telephones, and this community, established in the late 1800s. Every business was here because some people couldn't ride a horse somewhere, and so business people settled here to serve the community. I think what I wanted to demonstrate is that we can continue to adapt, and if we have super high quality services and businesses here, people will come here, and that's already been proven with the Dead River Saloon. With our business here, we were fortunate enough we didn't have any company. We're in a place where there hasn't been a real estate office here in over a decade. Yet there's literally 2,000 homes within a few miles of the office. We got about 500 lake homes right down the street, and all those have been served by realtors from out of the area. We thought, heck, great spot, great building, great opportunity. And the community has responded very well. They like that we're here. We have walk-ins almost every single day now, and it's been really great to get to know so many of the people, and many of those who were at that very first meeting that we called Neshkoro Proud, which you see on our sign. Just really about changing the attitudes. Like, so the school closed, this closed, and that closed. We lost our restaurant, but we can rebuild it. And if we do, let's just have a great attitude about it. Treat everyone as you would like to be treated. And, that's the magic sauce. And it's right from right from scripture to treat other people as though they're more important. They may not be more important, but treat them as if they are.
Absolutely. No, as far as important things, you had mentioned, you're always trying to, help the community. As far as from a business capacity with Springs Group, you guys have like complimentary services that you guys offer, right? So that's one way that you can
Oh,
help
yeah.
the community, like specifically in the real estate aspect. Want to touch base on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, we'll help the community. We have people that call us and even come over and ask us to come and fix our TV, and we usually have someone here who could do that. Like these are, that's the bottom end of it. But literally anyone who needs help, whatever help they need, we're here to help them. And pretty much, um, I would say about a third of our time is just spent helping people. Doesn't mean that we're getting paid or whatever. If we can help them, we're going to help them. If they can't afford to pay, they can't afford to pay. That doesn't matter. We don't even ask for it. We know not to ask for it in some situations. We just want to reciprocate what God has done for us and let that love of God flow through us and not stop with us.
Awesome. So that kind of leads into my next question regarding your business, and that's core values. So, I mean, obviously, the way that I've known you personally for some time now, so I know how you operate and how you function and how your drive is, and you're faith driven. So, core values. Why don't you kind of let us know a little bit more about Springs Group? I want to shine the light on you a little bit because you're always doing so much for everyone else that like I want to stop and just ask you questions about your business a little bit. Like what are some, this is a way that
You
the
ask,
community can learn more about you.
You can ask a lot of questions. I don't care what questions you ask. So core values are just really about having corporate health. Whatever organization you belong, whatever institution you have, there's going to be a culture, and it can either be a default culture, just everyone's welcome, and whatever you believe and want to do, you can do. And you can see that in perhaps like associations where as long as you're a part of it, you're in it. That's a default culture. And in a business, you really want to have an intentional culture that surrounds around the behaviors that you want to see from your organization. If you can hire according to your core values, mean that whoever you hire, they appreciate your core values and they have the ability, the capacity to align themselves with those values and the behaviors associated. Listen, a lot of businesses have core values, but they're just a plaque on the wall. They're not really modifying the behavior. They're not being adopted and embraced by people, whereby everyone sees that this environment demands that I follow in line. Otherwise, you're going to get fired, period. I
Right.
mean, hire to the core values. Pat Lencioni and his work on this in his book called The Advantage really dives deep on this, how important it is. Basically saying a healthy company is going to be advantaged over a super smart company if it's not healthy. You have the right people and you have them in the right seats on the bus, as they say in business, and you have the right culture. There's really no stopping what you can do.
So true. It's so very true. I know that like one of the things that we've touched base on before as far as good cultures, examples of good cultures would be like Culver's, right? That was one thing you had mentioned previously. Like I actually just talked about Culver's with Ed Klinger in the last episode of the Freeman Focus. They have it figured out, and you go there, it's the same experience every time. They have a good culture.
Yeah, you won't find them swearing behind the counter. You won't find them
They
having
better not. My
bad
son works
attitude.
there.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of not only a process-driven product that's consistent, it's a consistent consumer experience. That's the other thing. If you're going to own a chain of restaurants, you want everyone to behave and talk the same way, have the same attitudes, and make the same food the same way every time. So it's a really great business model. Real estate's a little bit harder to create processes for real estate transactions, but we do it. There has to be a consistent consumer experience. Otherwise, why are people going to come back? Why are they going to refer you? Why are they going to talk about you if one day your experience is this and the other day it's that? That's a huge problem just in my industry alone, because everyone's an independent contractor. They don't come together like we come together and say, hey, let's surround ourselves around these values. Let's have a common vision. Let's have some processes that we can all follow to assure that the consumer gets what they want.
That's awesome. I see that you're building your consumer experience, carefully there at Springs Group. You got Matthew Mabrito, an I've known Matthew for a little over a year now. Really great mind, young man there. Really customer service focused. And I see that you added a new VP of operations, Adley,
Yeah.
into place. Maybe you want to touch a little bit based on your team and, like some of your guys' plans
Sure,
this
sure.
upcoming year.
Yeah, I think this is somewhat miraculous, and uh, one thing that we can always do is know what we're looking for. If we're building something, we need to know exactly what we're looking for. And with Matthew, I had decided before I even met him that I was looking for 25 to 35 years old, a great salesperson with humility. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff I was looking for, but those were the three main things. And when I walked into Walmart in Berlin and he first started talking to me, I knew that I was onto something. While he was demonstrating some features of Verizon, I asked him how old he was, and he said 26. He didn't blink an eye, just went right back into his thing. And then I said, "Have you ever thought about real estate?" And he turned and looked at me and said, "How did you know?" I said, "I didn't. I was just asking." He said, "I told my boss when I took this job, I was only taking it so I could, as a stepping stone, get into real estate." And he said, "Today, my brother sent me some shoes, said, it's time to get going with your real estate career. And now you walk in here and ask about real estate." God brought us together, no question about it. What an interesting, and all what he is. And I thought, I'm never going to find that around here in my head, but I said, oh, God will provide a way. And, he grew up on the Navajo Indian Reservation. His dad was pastor of a Baptist church on the reservation, school teacher, took care of his brother Nathan, who had muscular dystrophy and was unable to care for himself. And Matthew got perspective on life through that, and just so happened when he was old enough to leave the house, said he went to Colorado and met his current wife, who was also escaping Wisconsin in Colorado. They met at a resort where they both worked, and back here, married, family now. Awesome, awesome family. Bradley, I actually met Bradley in an interview. I serve on the board at the Country Cupboard in Watoma, and we were interviewing. We had a marathon interview session, and Bradley came in, and he was highly prepared. He looked the part, way overqualified on his resume. I thought, oh my gosh, why is this guy? I asked the question, why? Why here? Told of a story of his life and the change that he was making in his life, and he was turning towards God, and that he was interested in serving the community. Well, as it turns out, he was not the best candidate for that position, and he was way overqualified. And I called him up a few days later and asked to meet with him. And there again, he was exactly what we were looking for, and we were exactly what he was looking for. And so now it's the three of us, and we're just having a riot.
That's
just
awesome.
a great time to. Yeah, it works always so much easier when you're having fun.
I really love how God, like people from different parts of the U.S., different parts of the world, somehow, some way, we come together for a specific purpose to make a change, to make a difference, to make an impact. Like you said, Matthew from, was it Colorado? Or
Right.
he came here because of his significant other, his wife, migrated him back to Berlin area. You see them at Walmart, like the interactions, the moment and times that God puts us in the right place because we're ready. He puts the other person in the right place because they're ready. Even if we don't know that we're ready for something, God knows. He knew it in advance. So really remarkable that everybody can come together and that you guys have that team that you have.
Yeah. I think it is really important to know what you're looking for in life and to have a clarity to understand what reality really is, what perspective is, what is true, apart whatever you feel or what anyone feels, what is truth. And you can ask yourself great questions. I think it was Socrates who said the unexamined life is a life not worth living, which I really respect, because you have to watch yourself. You have to watch yourself like a cat watches its prey. You have to get out of yourself and say, and I make a lot of mistakes, don't get me wrong. And whenever I do, I said, man, why did I see myself the way I really was? And I made some terrible mistakes since I've been here, but that's all part of it. It's part of learning. You learn through mistakes. And as long as you come out of it with understanding what you did wrong and what you need to do better, and that's really what I'm doing. Just going to continue growing my whole life that way.
I think one thing that is a big part of it. And if you have good intentions going into something, it's okay if mistakes are made. As long as you're learning that, like, all right, I need to do things and address it a certain way going forward. It's just the cause and effect. But intention is very important. And putting yourself in a position or around certain people and environments, that's intentional, right? So you're either trying to grow and you're going to put yourself in a place where you're around people that are going to help that growth, achieve those goals. They're going to influence you in a good way, or bad intent, and you just make poor choices and let those be reasons to make more poor choices. A lot
Well,
of jumped on my health journey, become a better Mario, and meeting you
Yep.
and work helped me maintain my journey to make sure that I was going to continue to grow in the way that Jesus needed me to. So Dan, I really need to thank you for that. And I know that you don't like to be put in the spotlight so much that you like shining the spotlight onto others, but brother, you need to accept it, and you have a lot of great things that are happening there in Neshkoro, and you're behind a good chunk of it. Like in some way, if you can be, you're going to get behind it. So, I respect you and I honor your efforts in those small communities because they are behind in the times in certain areas where some people they're just not ready for change, but that change needs to happen, and you're doing everything you can and everything that your team can to be a part of that change. So, big kudos to you and the team there at Springs Group for making an impact and continuously trying to strive for, a better Neshkoro community. So Neshkoro Proud definitely has a meaning behind it, when you guys say it and when you guys are doing what you're doing. I see it online. I'm a big online person, so I see all the posts. I don't miss anything. I'm like that guy. I got like 5 screens here to see everything. Literally a 5-screen setup here, so I don't miss anything online. So, I know that your battery's getting low, so I do want to make sure I touch base on a few more things here. As
Sure.
far
Go
as
right.
any one specific message, or principle or lesson, something that stayed throughout your whole life, and something that you could help others, maybe it might help them in some way. What would that be?
Oh, that's really great and tough question. I'm glad I didn't prepare for the interview, so now you get the real me. So my life has changed dramatically over the period of time, and so the answer would be different at different portions of my life. I will say that having the right attitude is a game changer right off the bat. And to me, an attitude is the way that you choose to see the world. And I choose to see the world as a place of opportunity where if there is resistance, I'll be able to overcome it. That if I treat people the way they should be treated, if I'm generous, I can't lose if I'm willing to put my wood, so to speak, in the stove before I ask for some heat. And I don't even ask for the heat. It just comes when you do the right things. So I would say attitude plays an extremely important part. And I do believe in my case that God has the biggest place in my life for directing my life, and He's really clear. He makes promises to us that no other human being could make to us, and He keeps them all.
Lost your
He
camera.
gives.
We lost your
Re-
camera one more time, Dan.
What's that?
Your camera feed dropped out one more time.
So sorry about that,
It's okay.
Mario. It
It's all right.
said in
It's
the
fine.
prep, make sure it was charged, but we were online before I could even do that. Scripture is just crystal clear about the things that we should think about. They're all good things because the things that we think about, the 8 things that He says that we should set our minds upon, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, whatever is pure. Think about those things, and then he goes right into how thinking about some things are put into practice. Well, thinking always precedes behavior. So if you think about the right things and you literally follow those things and you believe them, and you have them in your heart, and good things are going to happen. The right things
Amen.
for you will happen. And so I believe that life was given to me by my Creator, and He gave me a great instruction book to work by. And if I don't read it, if I don't have it hid in my heart, as He says, as David said, the word is hid in my heart, that I may not sin against Thee. And so I want his word, I want his promises in my heart where his spirit lies. And if I have those things, it doesn't matter what. If I have those things, I can go through anything. Any person.
Yeah, I just knowing that God will provide. So that's something I go out in the woods when I go hunting. I say hunting, but fishing, with my kayak.
Yeah, that's not dating.
Hunting bass and northern pike. But yeah, I mean, just I go out there, I get away from the connection of the digital noise and the rest of the world, and I just kind of just ground myself in nature and just the pure adoration for all of God's beautiful creations. Like the fact that we have this life, that we have this air to breathe and the sun to keep us warm, and we're so blessed with life every day. We're already abundantly blessed, as soon as we open our eyes. I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I've been given and for this platform, like to be able to communicate, in this way and to talk to people about such great experiences, like sort of local stories that I get to help tell. Who am I? I'm just another person. I'm just an average Joe,
You know
but
what?
I'm really
This is a
grateful.
great thing. That's what extraordinary really is. It's ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Any person can change their circumstances, their relationships, their business. They just have to, number one, want to and be willing to maybe challenge the way they think, which will lead to changing the way they treat people and the way that they do things. And it always works. God's ways always work. I'm just going to say that.
Amen to that. That is the way. That is the only way. It's His way, Yahweh.
So, what other questions? Give me a tough one.
Here's a tough one. Okay, here's a tough one. How can listeners get in touch with you or learn more about Spring Scoop Real Estate? That's a real tough one.
Well, right now they do one of three things. They call me. Our businesses were listed, and I think somewhere our number's outside. I hope it is.
You better be up there.
About a third of the people just walk in here, and I really enjoyed that. But we have email, we have phones.
Facebook, you have a Facebook
Myself,
page.
if anyone watches, call me on my cell. 608-297-0731. That's
Got that number that's saved in my phone.
you can text me too.
I try not to bug you too much.
Don't
Usually, I just leave a lot up to faith. If God wants me to be at a certain place at a certain time, He'll see to it that I get there. Or He'll put it on my heart that, like Mariano, like you got to be there. You have to go. This is a part of your calling. You need to show up, and you need to do exactly as is needed. I noticed that that's something that happens at Spring Scoop. Anytime I've ever stepped in the building, that, like I said, that energy, it's there. It's exciting. It's so warm and welcoming. Anytime there's a new person that I meet, because usually I'm meeting someone pretty cool there. It's not like I just walk into Spring Scoop and it's just your average day. You have people that are coming in there that are like masterminds. These are very intellectually smart business people, and they're driven. It's not like they're just going there to hang out. It's not a hangout spot.
They don't have business people. They just have to want to contribute, do what you can do, and do the best you can at it. Period. I don't know how much longer my phone's going to last there, but you got any more tough questions besides asking me my phone number?
I think that's pretty much all I have for you today, Dan. I do want to leave some things open for another podcast, so I didn't want to just throw it all out there in this one.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring you and maybe Matthew Mabrito on or something, and maybe eventually Bradley. But I kind of want to open it up to like a team communication, like a way to branch out a little bit, like a breakout session.
I think that interviewing either one of those two gentlemen alone would be incredibly good for you. Matthew, gosh, just
brother already too.
Yeah. His disposition and his attitude and you definitely want to talk with him for sure. And yeah, then between those two, your viewers will get a full picture of the leadership here. Yeah, it's just the three of us here. We do oversee 131 other agents in 6 states at this point, and we have about 15 in Wisconsin, but only 3 of us are working here in Neshkoro. There's just not enough town here for more here, so we got to pull them in from other areas.
Fully understandable. Well, I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for this episode of the Freeman Focus. I really want to thank you again for taking the time out of your busy day to join me on the show and to discuss, what's happening there at Springs Group and, your history and what led you there. I want to tell everyone, stay tuned for next episode. This episode drops tomorrow on Thursday, and then next episode we have another exciting guest, so I can't wait to say some more about that here in the near future. Everyone, I hope you guys have a great night.
I think that if in the future you want to just dive into podcasts, usually revolve around one idea and all the components of that idea. If you want to get dialed in on something, one specific thing, whether it be culture, whether it be marketing, things like that, those would make great podcasts. You're doing an excellent job, Mariano. You seem to be completely natural in doing it, and you're getting great interviews. I really enjoy them. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
And very happy with your success as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan.